Benjamin Netanyahu is back on Israel's top seat. The country's most right-wing and religiously conservative coalition is in power, and only days after taking the helm, it has unveiled a controversial plan. Netanyahu's new justice minister wants to water down the Supreme Court's power. Yariv Levin, a confidant of Netanyahu, has been the biggest critic of Israel's Supreme Court for a long time. He has called for a series of sweeping changes. These changes are aimed at curbing the powers of the judiciary and giving the parliament absolute power. Now, what exactly are these changes? Let's understand. Levin says that lawmakers should be allowed to pass laws. This includes bills that the High Court has struck down and even those that have been deemed unconstitutional. The Justice Minister has laid out a law to empower Parliament. It would allow the Knesset to override the Supreme Court decisions. I repeat, override the Supreme Court's decisions with a simple majority. The Israeli Parliament has 120 seats. And according to Levin's proposition, if 61 lawmakers are on the same page, they can overturn the court's decision. And as if that wasn't enough, Levin also wants a say in the appointment of the Supreme Court judges. You see, in Israel, the Supreme Court judges are appointed and dismissed by a committee. This committee is formed by lawmakers and some justices, and Levin wants to give lawmakers a majority in this committee. Essentially give them the upper hand in making legal decisions. But why is he doing this? Is he simply power hungry, or is Netanyahu pulling the strings to save face? Levin has some interesting arguments to support his propositions. According to him, the public's faith in the judicial system has plummeted to a historic low. That cannot be denied. Because Israelis do have their doubts, history's most right-wing coalition is holding the reins currently. Netanyahu, who has faced charges of bribery, fraud, breach of trust, is leading the parliament. Amid all this, it is only fair if Israelis are concerned over their democracy. But Levin's solution doesn't support the cause. He plans to restore power to the same elected officials who have incited these fears to begin with. The Justice Minister says that the judiciary was not elected by citizens, and yet it makes decisions for them. According to him, this is not democracy. So what is the solution? Giving absolute power to Parliament? How ironic. Aren't his propositions themselves an assault on democracy? What happened to the concept of checks and balances? Some of Netanyahu's allies have floated an ambitious idea. They want to split up the post of Attorney General into 3 roles, and 2 of those roles would be political appointments. This would open the door for Netanyahu to install someone favorable and throw out the charges against him. And it's not just us who are finding it concerning. Israel's Attorney General and the opposition have fiercely criticized the planned overhaul. The head of the opposition, Yair Lapid, says that he will fight the changes in every possible way. He has vowed to cancel the reform if he returns to power. Critics have accused the government of declaring war against the legal system. They say the plan will upend Israel's system of checks and balances. It will undermine the democratic institutions. After all, absolute power in the hands of such a hardline coalition is indeed a matter of concern. Netanyahu's ultra-Orthodox allies also hope to scrap other rulings, especially those that outlaw Israeli outposts on private Palestinian land. And if Levin's proposed override law is passed, the ruling coalition would have all the freedom to do that. Makes you wonder, are these reforms going to bail out Netanyahu? A long-delayed felony corruption case looms on the premier's head. If convicted, he could be sentenced to several years in prison. Ever since Netanyahu got indicted, he has campaigned against the justice system. He denies all the charges that he faces. He calls himself a victim of a witch hunt, which has been orchestrated by a hostile media, police and prosecutors. After coming to power, Netanyahu said he will not use his authority to influence his trial. But his coalition partners are signaling a different plan. They have gone so far as to say they would legalize the crimes Netanyahu has committed. And now one of his allies is planning to change the entire judicial system. To what length will the administration go to protect Netanyahu? To keep him out of jail? Is the Supreme Court being stripped of its power so that Netanyahu can go scot-free? WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.